We're going to deviate, of course, from our agenda. Dean Colson and Eric Eikenberg, the governor's chief of staff, are here, and I think they'd like to address our board and give us the opportunity to ask for any clarifications or questions that we might have. And I think it would be useful at the conclusion of that if we could take a sense of the board on our feeling towards the proposal. I myself, of course, am wildly enthusiastic. But anyway, Dean and Eric, would y'all like to?
Good morning. I think this is an exciting morning for higher education and for the university system and for the Board of Governors and our boards of trustees and everyone involved. I have talked to some, but not all of you, all over the past several months. The governor's chief of staff, Eric Eikenberg, is here. The person in charge of communication, Aaron Isaacs, is here, so we can answer any questions you might have. I thought it might be worthwhile to spend a couple of minutes talking about how we got to where we are today. When you look at where we are today in terms of funding per student, graduation rates, student-faculty ratios, clearly we have some shortcomings in our university system that need to be improved. Our goal is to develop a first-class, nationally competitive university system, and the governor mentioned in his remarks today that he'd like to see all 6 universities and medical schools be ranked in the top 50 of the public universities in the state, in the country. He'd like to see a world-class, historically black university doing world-class research. He'd like to see the remaining universities' research be focused but world-class and providing cutting-edge, student-centered instruction. I think these are all noteworthy goals. If you look at the top 12 public universities in the country, 6 of them are in California, none of them are in Florida. That's not right. So we have some work to do. The proposal asks the legislature to do several things, including authorizing each board of trustees to set their own tuition increases, but capped at 15% a year, subject to approval by the Board of Governors. The tuition increases would be a differential tuition component that would be decoupled from Bright Futures. We ask that 30% of the tuition increases be dedicated to need-based aid. That doesn't necessarily mean need-based aid just for the poorest element of our society, but we want you all to use your creativity in each university to come up with their own proposals of how to spread that money out to as the widest group of people that may be in need. It shouldn't necessarily just be Pell Grant eligible students. We ask that the other 70% of the money be used for things such as retention and recruitment of the very best faculty, for student advisors and counselors, things that make the student experience a better experience, and things, since this is going to be funded by the students should feel good about how their money is being spent. And we think it was important to tell the students what we're going to spend the money on. We have asked that the legislature and the Board of Governors have set out some metrics for approving tuition increases in making this decision that are recommended by boards of trustees. And these would be things like continued improvement in graduation rates, improvement in the percentage of full-time students graduating in 4 years, improvement in closing the gaps in graduation rates between majority and minority students, improvement in the percentage of faculty nationally recognized by their peers, improvement in the amounts of dollars spent directly impacting student education, improvement in SAT and ACT scores of incoming freshman classes, improvement in licensure pass rates, improvement in academic research and development expenditures, including federally financed grants and expenditures in patent and intellectual property expenditures and revenues, continued improvement in spatial utilization and efficiency. I have said, and it's not a particularly popular thing to say, but I think we need as universities to do a better job of looking for resources other than off the backs of the students and from the state coffers. We need to be more entrepreneurial as universities, and we need to do a better job of fundraising as universities. And our board of governors and our boards of trustees have to, give more money and raise more money. And I challenge all of you all in that regard. We say that the boards of trustees should have the responsibility of hiring and firing their presidents, for preparing the university budget, growth, and strategic plans, and the responsibility for setting tuition, subject to approval by the board of governors. We also are suggesting that the governor convene the leadership of prepaid and the board of governors, and these are taking place. I know Governor McDivitt has already started these, and the chancellor, so that we get an understanding and agreement on how much prepaid can afford to handle going forward, and that we have a commitment that all universities honor all prepaid contracts. We need to, on a going forward basis, write new contracts to accommodate the tuition increases that are going to be necessary to maintain a first-class university system. Our goal is to allow the universities to raise their tuition, but not to exceed the national average until we see how we're doing. That will take 7, 8, or 9 years, depending on how the national average moves over the next 7 or 8, 9 years, and whether or not each university can justify the tuition increases that they're asking for. But the national average is a goal that I don't think is something such a high level that we shouldn't aspire to it. I think, it's not asking too much for the state of Florida to have tuition at the national average, because we want our universities to be much better than the national average. And I think the governor will acknowledge that the reforms we're asking for is just a first step in getting us to be a world-class education system. That when there are better economic times, the governor, the legislature has to invest more money in higher education so that we can continue to move ourselves in the right direction and to be at the very top. So that's kind of the outline of the plan. The chief of staff's here. He can answer questions. I can answer questions. We've done a lot of work, and so I throw it open to you all.
Dean, thank you very much. Do members of the board have anything specific they'd like to ask? Please, now's the time.
First of all, I want to congratulate everybody for a job well done. I just have one question. Was there ever a discussion, when you're talking about bright futures, there being some kind of a means test? Because there's still a lot of students running around, even though they're going to pay a differential tuition, who can clearly afford to go to school. And it's, I understand the need-based issue, but was that ever discussed, dialogue?
Means testing, a lot of programs in the state have been discussed. It has been discussed, is being discussed, and these are where we got to as a result of trying to get a consensus on things, and I think it's a subject that deserves to continue to stay on the table for conversation, but it's not something that we're ready to address right now.
Sorry, go ahead, Governor Pappas.
Can you hear me all right, Dean?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for the efforts that you've put into that. I know it was extraordinary, and it was a job well done. One, and this may be more of an observation, but I think the press some of the press that will come out of this will be focused on the issue for students and the issue for families paying more in tuition. And to me, the corollary to that is if you look at the commitment of state dollars to higher education over a very long period of time as an ever-declining percentage of commitment, that if we look at this holistically, we should be saying that if families do not want tuition to increase, then they need to be encouraging the legislature to stop the decline in funding towards the university system. So it's not as if this is a level circumstance in which we're just simply electing to take more out of tuition or more dollars out of people's pockets for tuition. So oftentimes there's a complete disconnect and a lack of understanding of that fact. So maybe it's something we need to be emphasizing also from the board's standpoint.
Yes, ma'am.
Any more questions?
Yes, Madam President.
Reverend Myers.
I do have a comment, and that comment is that the Florida Student Association fully supports the governor's proposal. And we fully support the proposal because it's value through accountability. And that's what the association is focusing on, is we will be getting value from the tuition increases, as you mentioned, going to advising the retention of students, graduation rate, as far as the retention of faculty and hiring exceptional faculty and staff, but also holding our local boards accountable for those tuition increases and where those funds go at the end of the year, and have more student involvement within those accountability measures. And there's been an interesting opportunity that presents itself for students now that this proposal is, or may be accepted by the legislature, is the opportunity for students to plan their 4 years at the university. To be able to speculate, seeing a possible 15% tuition increase in the next 4 years down the road, and possibly be paying, as one reporter mentioned, 30 to 40% more by their senior year. A student is now being able to plan for that accordingly, which is a great opportunity for our students. And again, the Florida Student Association fully supports the governor's proposal, and I thank you and commend you for all the work that you've done.
Thank you, Governor.
Governor Parker.
I echo all the sentiments of the members of the board, Dean, and thank you for the time and commitment that I know personally that you put into making this happen. My only comment is as it relates to what happens between now and the next now and the start of the legislative session, in that I would hope that we can use this as an opportunity to let families know that this really is a good thing, and not have them panic over the fact that rates may rise, but that we focus on the quality that Governor Miller talked about, that we also kind of put this in numbers that they can understand. You know, I've heard different comments about how much this really means, and how maybe the equivalent of a 1 month cell phone bill, or equivalent of a couple of cups of Starbucks. I think those are the kinds of analogies that families understand, and also letting them know that it's not across the board but incremental. But you know, those are the kinds of things that I would hope that, you know, as we go across the state between now and the time that legislators are going to actually, codify, what we are supporting right now, we kind of focus on those kind of things, so families can understand this is a good thing because it improves our quality, and that it's not really going to be cost prohibitive, but will have a great impact upon the system. So again, thank you. I would hope that you consider that.
I agree with you, and Aaron's here, our communications director, so she'll, and we have a lot to do between now and the legislative session. I would echo what President Delaney said at the press conference. We've got the best deal going in the whole country. I mean, we're so underpriced in higher education right now in this state that it's not surprising we're facing a crisis. And we have to, to be competitive, we have to become a little bit more competitive, which would still be an unbelievably great deal for the citizens of the state of Florida. I want to ask Eric. Eric, do you want to add anything? Eric has shown extraordinary courage in all this, and but for his leadership, we would not be here.
Good morning. First of all, it's a privilege to be in front of this great body, the Board of Governors, and I appreciate, on behalf of the Governor, your service to our state and the work you do, your tireless work on behalf of the higher education community in the state, and also for the students in general. This is a great day, and I want to just make the point that we're striving for a system of excellence. That's why you're here. That's why you take time out of your schedule to sit in the seats that you do. We're striving to allow the students that are currently in the system, the students that are in middle school, the elementary students, when they get to that college, that postgraduate point in their lives, that they're looking in state. and it's a system that provides the excellence that we're all striving for. I think this is an opportunity that provides for accountability, and the governor was strong on the fact that we need accountability when it comes to these issues. And this is not about a cross-the-board increase. This is putting the local option back at each university. It's giving the university to make the decisions that's best for them, to strategically plan, to look beyond just short and long term, but how are they going to move forward to make themselves the best university they can be? And it provides you all, the Board of Governors, the ability to make sure that this state is moving in a way that benefits the entire system. We have to look at the totality of the system, and that's what's so critically important, and it's a key component to this plan. I do want to compliment Dean Colson. I know many of you have already. This man has spent numerous hours. He without a tax dollar going to him. He's done a tremendous amount of work on behalf of this state. The governor is extremely proud of the work you've done, Dean. Let me also say that we've had wonderful discussions with the legislature. And now it's time to continue those discussions, to get to a point where when the next session comes upon us here in the spring, that the reform package that was announced today, we get to the finish line. And then there's more to be done. This is a good first step, and together we will work collectively to, again, make this a system that is built on excellence. And I want to thank the university presidents that are here today. I spoke to many of your student body presidents last night. I personally called those I'd get a hold of. And Arthur, you're right. The students, they want to be able to take pride in their education that they're receiving at these universities. And that's the most important thing as well, is that we have the student buy-in that we've heard today. And we'll continue to work with the student body across the system to make sure they're included in this process. Again, I appreciate the time. It's great to be with you all, and thank you all for what you do.
Thank you all.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate everything y'all have done, and I'd like the board to express their support of this. Can we just get an informal motion that... Is there any further discussion? Okay, so without objection, the board is unanimously in support of this package.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.